My boyfriend proposed to me on my 25th birthday, with a diamond ring so expensive, it made my heart stop. Not because I was overwhelmed with joy, but because I knew we couldn't afford it. And when I didn't accept it, he called me ungrateful. We were actually very broke and had to contribute money to get household items sometimes. I was just concerned about how he got the money to make such a big purchase. I really wasn't expecting my birthday to turn into a full-blown emotional mess. Before we get into more details, please make sure you stick around till the end. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I'd really love to hear your thoughts. My name's Amira, and I met Jordan on the first day of my sophomore year at Westfield State College. We both reached for the same worn-out copy of Media Ethics and Public Responsibility in the campus library, and I made a joke about how he clearly had no ethics if he was trying to steal my textbook. He laughed. I laughed. And that was it. Jordan had these warm brown eyes that always made you feel like he was listening, even when you weren't saying much. Somehow everyone on campus still knew who he was. Not because he was loud, but because he was kind. And intentional. He remembered birthdays, helped freshmen move their boxes up 3 flights of stairs, and never let you walk home alone from night classes. We became friends fast, best friends, really. Study partners, errand buddies, each other's plus ones to school events. People started calling us Mr. and Mrs. Westfield by the end of that semester. They weren't wrong. A few months later, on a cold Friday in December, he held my gloved hands outside the campus cafe and asked me to be his girlfriend. We didn't have money. At all. I worked evenings at a tiny sandwich shop off campus called Lena's Deli, and Jordan did late-night shifts restocking shelves at this dusty old Hank's Supply Depot hardware store. We studied during the day, worked at night, and somehow still found time to slow dance in the kitchen we shared in the student apartment complex. After about a year of scraping by, we realized something: rent was eating us alive. We were both paying separate leases in the same building, both buying household items and groceries from Target and wasting half of everything. So we sat down, ran the numbers, and moved into a one-bedroom together at the Pines, this modest, slightly run-down but lovable complex on Alder Street. Living together isn't just about saving money, Jordan had said, while we unpacked books and folded second-hand bedsheets. It's practice. We're building something real, right? And I believed him. I really did. We made it work. We divided chores, did budget meetings every Sunday evening, with mugs of hot chocolate and lo-fi music playing softly in the background, and split bills like teammates. It was hard sometimes. The fridge broke once, and we didn't have the cash to fix it for a week, so we lived on peanut butter sandwiches and cereal. But those nights felt warm. Like we were choosing each other every day, not just coasting. For years passed. Jordan got his degree in communications, and I got mine in marketing. No huge job offers, no big breaks, just average paying positions that helped us stay afloat. He worked at a small production studio editing commercials, and I landed a social media assistant role at a local skincare brand. We were tired a lot. Rent kept creeping up. Groceries somehow cost more every month. But through all that, we still found pockets of peace. Morning walks to the train, laughing over burnt pancakes, his hand always reaching for mine under restaurant tables. Then came my 25th birthday. I wasn't expecting much. We had agreed on something low-key. Maybe dinner at Talia's Pasta Bar, a cute Italian place we loved where the portions were big and the prices small. I even joked that if he got me a slice of tiramisu, I'd consider it the best birthday ever. But when I arrived, dressed in my favorite burgundy dress, the room looked different. A table set up with candles. A bouquet of tulips, my favorite. Soft jazz playing from the corner speaker. And Jordan, standing there, nervous but glowing. He pulled out the chair for me. We laughed through dinner. He was a little too quiet at times, sipping his water like he was trying to calm himself. And just before dessert, he stood up, reached into his jacket, and got down on one knee. The whole restaurant turned. He opened this box, and inside was a ring I'd only ever seen in ads. Silver platinum with a radiant cut diamond that shined like glass in moonlight. It didn't look nice. It looked expensive. Like, too freaking expensive. He said, "Amira, you are the best thing that's ever happened to me. You've seen me broke, tired, confused, and loved me anyway. I want to build forever with you. Will you marry me?" Everyone clapped. Someone behind me started crying. I looked at Jordan's eyes, hopeful, open, shining, and I said yes. Because in that moment, how could I not? But somewhere deep inside me, under the joy and surprise, a little voice whispered, "How the hell did he afford that ring?" The ride home was quiet, but not in a bad way. Just full. I was still holding the ring box in my hand, even though the ring was already on my finger. I must have stared at it 100 times in the car. How the metal caught light, how the diamond glimmered like it knew a secret. My heart was full of love for Jordan, but my mind couldn't stop circling the question I'd buried during dessert. How? How did he afford it? We pulled into our parking space at the Pines, the streetlights casting shadows across the cracked pavement. Jordan reached for the takeout box on the back seat, the leftover ravioli I swore I couldn't eat but secretly planned to warm up later, and smiled at me. "I still can't believe you said yes," he said, laughing as he opened the door. I was shaking so much, I almost dropped the ring in the breadbasket. I smiled back. But it was the kind of smile you give when you're half inside your head. We climbed the stairs to our apartment, 3B, and stepped into the familiar scent of laundry detergent and cinnamon-scented candles. Our little home. The one we built, second-hand couch and all. He took off his shoes. I sat on the edge of the bed, still in my dress. "Jordan," I said gently. "Yeah. Can I ask you something?" He was in the middle of loosening his tie. "Of course." I hesitated. "This ring," I held up my hand, letting it catch the dull overhead light. "It's beautiful. Like, crazy beautiful. But Jordan, how did you afford it?" He didn't answer right away. He crossed the room, sat next to me, and took a breath. I watched him run his hand through his hair the way he always did when he was about to say something that made him nervous. "I took a loan," he said. My stomach dropped. "A loan?" "Yeah," he said. "I went through one of those online personal loan sites. They gave me $18,000. I used most of it for the ring, and then sold my camera setup to cover the rest. You remember the Canon? The lens kit?" I stared at him. That camera was his pride. He used it to shoot freelance gigs, weddings, local ads, even a couple music videos for indie artists around Atlanta. He'd been saving for months to upgrade it. "You sold your camera?" I asked, voice small. He nodded. "And my bike. And I cashed out my savings. I wanted this to be special. I wanted you to have a ring you'd be proud of." I didn't speak. I didn't even move. "I know it's a lot," he continued, "but I'll pay it off. I'll pick up more gigs on weekends. I already emailed Hank to see if I could work night shifts again." My hands were cold now. I pulled them into my lap. "You went into debt," I whispered. $18,000, Jordan. For a ring." He frowned. "It's not just a ring, Amira. It's a promise. You deserve something beautiful." "But I never asked for that," I said, my voice rising before I meant it to. "You didn't even talk to me about it. You just made this decision on your own, and now we're stuck in this massive financial hole." His eyes darkened. "It's not we. I took the loan. But we live together. We share everything. Your debt affects me too, Jordan." Silence sat thick between us. I stood up, pacing slowly. My mind was spinning, monthly interest rates, bills we already struggled to keep up with, the way he'd look after working a 12-hour shift and still try to cook dinner like everything was fine. "I can't wear this," I said finally, slipping the ring off. "I'm sorry. I can't accept it like this. I don't want you in debt just to prove you love me. That's not what love is." He looked like I slapped him. "So what, Amira? You think I'm irresponsible now? I think you're impulsive. And I think you're trying to impress someone who never asked to be impressed." He stood up, his voice suddenly hard. "You're unbelievable. Jordan. I gave you something special. I poured everything into this. And you're acting like I threw a rock at your head. You're so," he paused, clenched his jaw. "Ungrateful." The word stung. "I'm practical, Jordan. I'm scared for you. For us." But he wasn't listening anymore. He grabbed his jacket and stormed out of the apartment, the door slamming behind him like a thunderclap. I stood alone in our living room, in my birthday dress, the ring sitting quietly on the coffee table like it was just another piece of clutter. And for the first time in 4 years, the space we shared felt colder than it ever had. 2 days. 2 incredibly long days. That's how long it had been since Jordan walked out of our apartment and into the kind of silence that doesn't call or text or explain. At first, I thought he needed space. Maybe a few hours to cool off, walk around Midtown, get a burger from that truck he liked by Piedmont Park. But the hours turned into a full day. A day turned into another. And then my heart started to panic. I called him. No answer. I texted, "Please, just let me know you're okay." Nothing. The weirdest part was how quickly our home started to feel off. His shoes by the door stayed untouched. The hoodie he wore the night of my birthday was still draped over the chair, like he was supposed to come back and grab it. I made breakfast the next morning out of habit, scrambled eggs and toast, his favorite. But I couldn't eat a single bite. By the second evening, I started calling people. I called Ryan, his best friend from college. "Hey, RY. Have you seen Jordan?" There was a pause. "Yeah, I've seen him." "Is he okay?" "He's safe." I waited for more, but he didn't continue. "Where is he?" I asked. He sighed. "He told me not to say." I felt my throat tighten. "He told you not to tell me?" "Amira, he's really upset. He said you rejected him. That you didn't want the ring, didn't want to marry him." My heart fell through the floor. "What? That's not what happened." "I know," Ryan said gently, "but that's how he feels." I hung up before I started crying. My hands were shaking. I wasn't angry, not yet. Just confused. Hurt. Alone. I tried calling his sister, Brielle, who adored me like family. She answered with a hesitant "Hey, Myra." She gave me the same thing, he was okay, but she couldn't tell me where he was. He had asked everyone to respect his space. And then she said the thing that broke me a little. He really loved that ring. Said it was his way of showing you he was ready. He feels humiliated. Humiliated? Had I really humiliated him? All I wanted was to protect him. Protect us. We'd spent years building a life of intention, not excess. We never needed shiny things to prove we belonged to each other. I would have married him with a ring pop from the gas station, as long as it came with his heart. That was the part he never understood. But now I was the villain in his version of events. Ungrateful. That word rang in my head again. It hurt worse than I expected, maybe because it was coming from the one person who knew me best. Or maybe because deep down, I feared it might be true. That I'd ruined a perfect moment. That I'd crushed him. I kept replaying the night over in my head, his smile, the soft way he said my name, the applause. Then the ring. The ring that weighed more than it sparkled. By the third night, I couldn't sleep. The apartment was too quiet without his clumsy humming while brushing his teeth or the sound of him flipping through Netflix for 20 minutes before settling on something we'd both ignore while scrolling. I missed the scent of his cologne, the way he'd curl up behind me and whisper goodnight like it was a ritual. But I also couldn't pretend none of this happened. What kind of life would we have if we started our marriage under the weight of $18,000 in debt? I had student loans up to my ears. He had none, thankfully, but that didn't make this okay. Love wasn't meant to bankrupt you. Love wasn't about proving your worth with carrots and receipts. I opened my journal and started writing him a letter. Not to send, just to breathe. Sometimes I process better when I write. Jordan. I love you more than I can ever explain out loud. You've been my partner, my comfort, my teammate. But this ring, it scared me. Not because I didn't want to marry you. God, I do. I still do. But I want to build a life with you that feels safe. That feels honest. I'm not ungrateful. I'm just realistic. I didn't need something from a glass case to say yes to forever. I needed you. Just you. I stared at the last line for a long time. Then I tucked the page under my pillow. It wasn't until the morning of the fourth day that I realized something. I hadn't cried yet. I hadn't let myself. So I sat on the edge of our bed, still in his hoodie, pulled my knees to my chest, and let it happen. I cried hard. The kind of cry that empties something out of you. Not just because he left, but because I couldn't fix it. Because the love we had, the slow, patient kind, was now tangled in misunderstanding and pride. He came back on a Thursday. I heard the key turn in the lock and I froze, my heart crashing into my ribs. I hadn't seen him in 5 days. Not since the night he stormed out and left me alone at our apartment, ringless and full of confusion. The door opened, And there he was, Jordan. Same hoodie, same face, but something was off. His eyes didn't soften when they met mine. His shoulders were stiff. He looked around the living room like it was a stranger's house. He didn't say anything at first. Just walked straight to the closet and started pulling things off hangers, his black duffel bag, some shoes, a few shirts he wore to the gym. I stood by the kitchen counter, hands wrapped around a cold mug of tea I hadn't touched in hours. "Jordan," I said softly. He didn't look at me. "I'm just grabbing some stuff." I swallowed. "Where are you staying?" He zipped the bag roughly. "At my parents' house." "Okay," I said. Are you coming back?" That's when he finally looked up. His eyes were tired, distant. "Not anytime soon. I don't think I want to be in the same house with someone who's so ungrateful." The words hit harder this time. I think it's because he meant them. There wasn't anger in his voice, just a kind of bitter certainty, like he had convinced himself of this version of me. "I'm not ungrateful," I said quickly. "Jordan, I've never been ungrateful. I was looking out for us. For you." He scoffed, shaking his head like he couldn't believe I was still trying to explain. He tossed a belt into the bag. "You embarrassed me," he muttered. "No, I didn't," I said, stepping closer. "You were excited, and I understand that. But you didn't even ask me. You made a huge decision, for both of us, without telling me. Do you know how scared I was when I heard you took out a loan that big? $18,000, Jordan. That's more than some people make in a year." He didn't respond. Just stared at the window like he was waiting for this to end. I kept going, my voice starting to shake. "You know what we could do with that money? We could have finally paid off my student loans. We could have gotten your camera back. You could have fixed the AC in your mom's car. Or, hell, we could have even taken a trip. Together. Without worrying about bills." "I didn't ask for a financial plan," he snapped. "No, you didn't," I said. "And that's the problem." He glared at me then. "So now I'm the problem?" "I didn't say that. I'm saying, Jordan, you didn't have to prove anything to me. I would have married you with a silver band from Walmart. It was never about the ring." He paused. And for a moment, I thought he heard me. I really did. But then he laughed, this short, cruel laugh, and slung the duffel bag over his shoulder. "You know what, Amira," he said, walking toward the door. "You're just a dumb bitch." I blinked. I actually blinked, because my ears refused to believe they'd heard it right. But his face was stone cold. He meant it. He slammed the door behind him. And I just stood there. It felt like I'd been slapped. Not by his hand, but by his disappointment, his refusal to see the heart behind my words, and now, by that word. That ugly, ugly word. I sank to the floor, knees pulled to my chest. And then I did something I hadn't done in a long time. I called my mom. When she answered, I couldn't even speak. I just sobbed, so hard I couldn't breathe. The kind of crying that feels like something breaking open in you. I cried like a little girl with scraped knees, not a 25-year-old woman with bills and a broken engagement. "What happened, baby?" she asked, her voice soft with concern. I told her everything. Through hiccups and choking breaths, I told her about the ring, the loan, the fight, the silence, and the way he looked at me like I was the villain in a movie I didn't know I was starring in. I told her he called me a dumb bitch. She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, calm and clear, "Amira, you did nothing wrong. You were looking out for him. For both of you. That boy let his pride get in the way of your future. You loved him, and you still do, I know, but you don't destroy your finances to prove love. Love builds. It doesn't borrow." I sat with that. Let it pour into me. After we hung up, I took a long shower, then sat on the edge of my bed in silence. The ring was still on the coffee table, glinting under the lamp like a ghost. That night, I lay awake thinking, would I have liked a fancy ring? Of course. I dreamt of one like the Dahlia Solitaire, the kind with a whisper of sparkle, something delicate, meaningful. I've daydreamed about having a Saint Laurent bag, taking weekend trips to Charleston, wearing gold hoops and soft leather shoes. But not like this. Not if I have to hand files to customers at work, day after day, barely able to afford gas, while Jordan works double shifts to pay interest on a ring. Not if it meant looking pretty while everything underneath us cracked open. If I had accepted that ring knowing what it cost him, what it cost us, that's when I'd be a dumb bitch. But I'm not. I'm just a woman who wanted to build something real. And maybe, just maybe, that means letting go of someone who loved loudly, but not wisely. It's been 3 weeks since I last saw Jordan. I've tried to carry on with life, one quiet day at a time. I wake up, brush my teeth, tie my hair in a loose bun, and go to work. I take the bus, because the car is his. We bought it together, but it's in his name. People keep asking me why I'm still in the apartment. I thought y'all broke up, someone at work asked casually last week, stirring powdered creamer into their coffee like they weren't cracking open a wound. We don't know what we are, I said, because that was the closest thing to the truth. The real answer: I paid my half of the rent. In full. The lease has both our names on it, and I'm not going to abandon my home just because he walked out with a bruised ego. I clean, I cook when I feel like eating, and I sleep on my side of the bed because it's mine too. The place is quieter without him. Less laughter. Less clumsy dancing in the living room. No open cabinets or cereal boxes left on the counter. It's just me now, and the hum of the fridge. And the ring, still in its box, untouched on the bookshelf. He didn't take it when he came by. Maybe he forgot it. Or maybe he didn't want it anymore either. I haven't heard from him since that day. Not a call. Not a text. Not even a "hope you're good." The silence has stopped feeling like punishment and started to feel like its own kind of answer. But I still don't know what to do with it. I don't know what to do with us. I don't feel guilty anymore, if that matters. I sat with the guilt long enough to understand it didn't belong to me. I was just the one who pointed out that love doesn't always come dressed in gold and debt. And for that, I got labeled ungrateful. Disrespectful. A dumb bitch. Funny how one word can linger like smoke in your clothes. But I know I'm not dumb. I know what I felt that night wasn't rejection, it was fear. Real fear. Because we were finally stepping into adult life, and adult life is bills, budgets, and credit scores, not movie proposals and diamond rings paid for in stress. Would it have been easier to say yes, wear the ring, post the photos, soak in the applause? Of course. But what comes after that? What happens when the high fades and the debt sits like a weight between us, pulling at every argument, stretching us thin? I said no because I love him. And I don't know how to explain that to someone who thinks love should always look like a grand gesture. I still care about him. I wish I didn't, honestly. It would be so much easier if I could just close that chapter and be angry forever. But that's not what this is. Every time I pass his mug on the counter, or hear a song we used to hum while cleaning, something aches. And I think, does he miss me too? I've written at least 6 unsent texts. Hey, I just hope you're okay. I didn't mean to hurt you. I still love you, you know. But I never hit send. Because I don't know what I'll say if he replies. And I really don't know what I'll say if he doesn't. I wonder sometimes if he's sitting in his parents' house, thinking he was right. That I'm selfish. That I let a moment ruin what could have been a beautiful future. And maybe from his side, that's exactly how it looks. But he doesn't see the nights I stayed up doing double shifts so we could have groceries. He doesn't remember the weeks I stretched ramen and eggs while he saved for a new lens. He forgot the partnership. The us. I don't know what I'll say to him if he walks back in. I don't know if I'll scream, cry, or go silent. I don't know if I'll forgive him for the things he said, or if I'll forgive myself if I do. Sometimes, I rehearse what I might say. Like a monologue in a mirror. Do you understand now? That I never said no to you, I said no to the way you did it. Or, if this was your idea of forever, maybe we were dreaming 2 different dreams. But the truth is, I don't know what I want. Not really. All I know is, I'm still here. Not waiting. Just existing. In this in-between place where love used to live. Where maybe, one day, Clarity will walk in and take a seat on the couch he used to nap on. Until then, I'll keep going. I'll fold the laundry. I'll light a candle in the evenings because I like how the lavender one smells. I'll go to work and hand over files to customers without a luxury ring on my finger, but with my head held high. And maybe, just maybe, that's enough for now. So tell me, what would you have done if you were in my shoes? Would you have accepted the ring, no questions asked? Or stood your ground like I did? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd really love to hear what you think. And if this story touched you in any way, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more real stories like this. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next one.